Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah and in this week's video we're going to be reading some anticipated 5-star reads from me. I feel like I've definitely done this before. Actually, I feel like it was one of my last reading vlogs where I read Alchemized and The Blood of a Brighthaven, which were, spoiler, we're both 5 stars. So I think I have a really good grasp on the books that I'm gonna really love. In this week's video we have 2 fantasy books and a romance, and I'm really excited specifically for one of the fantasy. Let's show you what I have on the agenda. The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I haven't read anything by Rachel Gillig. I haven't read The Shepherd's King duology. I honestly don't know much about it, but this premise and the things that I've seen and heard of this book are just brilliant, and I just truly think that I'm gonna really enjoy it. If you don't know what this is about, I understand that this book is about girls in some sort of like, you know, it's giving cult. I don't know, oh, they're called diviners, and I'm pretty sure that they start going missing and then someone shows up and starts, you know, trying to help, I think. And that's all I know about this book, and I'm excited. This is the first book, anyway, that we are potentially reading in this vlog. I'm finally gonna pick up Funny Story by Emily Henry. I just truly think that I'm gonna love this, and I think that's why I've not read it yet. I also really don't like the UK covers. It just puts me off at this cartoon vibe that we have. But why do I have a blue sprayed edge anyway? I need to relax. I need to calm down. We're gonna be reading this. We're definitely going to be reading this, and I believe that this is about 2 characters whose exes get together and then they end up having to live together, I think, briefly, because their exes have like moved in together and one of them ends up homeless, and I believe it has like quite a comedic tone as well. I don't know, I just think I'm really gonna love it based on what I've seen people speak about, and I'm excited to read it, but I've definitely been putting it off because I hate the visual of the book, but also because I think I'm gonna love it. So anticipated 5-star read, 100%. And then I've actually taken the dust jacket off, but it is The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. Now I anticipate that I am gonna eat this up and that it's gonna be like a 6-star read for me. I've seen a few people read this. I saw Jamie read it, I saw Freya read it first, and when I bought this actually in Waterstones, the person that was behind the counter was like, she thinks more people should be reading this book and it needs all of the hype, and the edition that I have is obviously like stunning. It's beautiful. The map in the middle at the start of the book has these like wonderful, beautiful foiling details, and the dust jacket, oh, she's stunning. I have the black version and I love it. I think it's stunning. Honestly, I'm so excited to get into this book, and I am a little bit scared. It says vast and intricate, immersive and enthralling. The intricacies definitely scare me a little bit. I guess I am slightly intimidated by this too, but I'm gonna read it because look at it, she's beautiful, and I'm really excited. I think I'm gonna love this, and we're gonna go on this journey together. So here are our anticipated 5-star reads of this video. I am gonna be starting with The Raven Scholar because I just can't wait a second longer. I really want to get into it, and I hope that I love it. I hope that you guys enjoy this video. Let's get into it. Let's start reading. Here with an update because I am 222 pages into this book, and that's what it looks like. Sorry about this. That's the thing with black sprayed edges, they're so easy to ruin. Honestly, I'm so intrigued to go back and read what the synopsis said of this book, because what I'm reading and what I was expecting, I don't know if they match, I don't know if they align, but that's very on brand for me, to be honest. I tend to find that with a lot of books I read. So on the blurb here it says, after 24 years on the throne, it's time for Burson the Brusque, Emperor of Oran, to bring his reign to an end. In the dizzying heat of midsummer, 7 contenders will compete to replace him. Trained at rival monasteries, each contender is inspired by a sacred animal. 8 exceptional warriors, thinkers, strategists, the best of the best. Then one of them is murdered. Okay. that's happened. It falls to the brilliant but idiosyncratic Nima Kra to investigate, but as she hunts for a killer, darker forces are gathering. If Nima succeeds, she could win the throne, whether she wants it or not, but if she fails, she will sentence herself to death and set in motion a sequence of events that could doom the Empire. From an electrifying new voice in epic fantasy is masterfully woven and playful inventive tale of imperial intrigue, cutthroat competition, and one scholar's quest to uncover the truth. Okay. Maybe I just didn't read the blurb. I don't know. I just feel like I don't know what I was expecting of this, but it's definitely different to, what I went in with. In the first maybe like 50 pages, few chapters, we follow a young girl, her twin brother and her mother, and this girl is called Yana, and her father was like the leader of a rebellion. He was defeated, he was considered a traitor, and that left the rest of his family in a bit of an odd situation, but they were spared essentially by the Emperor. So it turns out that they were summoned by the Emperor. So they go to the Emperor and essentially she gets exiled. And in this world, exiled means killed, essentially. Like, you will go and try to survive, but good bloody luck, we will kill you anyway. So I went in expecting that, maybe sort of like a revolution sort of story, and then the book takes a completely different turn and we end up following the scholar, the Raven scholar. Shock. Essentially, like, the book goes from there and we see our main character Nima draft the exile sort of like documents, and then we go to 8 years later and Nima is the sort of assistant to the Emperor. As the blurb says, we are following the rise of a new emperor through some trials, and every different animal house brings forward a contender, and then the Raven contender is murdered and Nima has to investigate the death. So it's very complex. Obviously there's tons going on, and in terms of like themes, contents and vibes of the book, it's extremely academic, because Nima, who we are following, even though we're not in her head, this is written in third person, we are spending a lot of time with her, and she is a scholar through and through. She's so passionate about all the academic stuff, you know? Definitely academic, but there is like a strong theme of court politics, and it's very petty in some ways, like the relationships between the contenders for these trials. They all seem to have history. Everyone knows everything about everyone, but really, do you know anything? There's so much mystery, and obviously with this murder we're trying to figure out why they would want to kill the Raven contender. It's very complex and very interesting, but also not really the tone and vibe that I was expecting it to be. So yeah, it's taken me by surprise, and let me tell you, it's taken a lot of brain power, because especially within like the first 100 pages I was like, I think I reread a couple of chapters at one point. How am I feeling about it being a 5-star read right now? I honestly don't know. I can't call it. It's very different to the sort of fantasies that I'm used to reading. If I was to compare it to anything that I've read, maybe Throne of Glass. There's way more mystery involved, so I'm not sure. Yeah, definitely an interesting one. Not sure what I would compare it to, but also, I don't know if it's going to be a 5 stars. There's potential. I have no idea what my rating is right now, so this is where we're at. I will come back to you guys once I have another update. We've definitely made some progress. So this is how much I have left. I think it's about 70 pages. Sorry about the sun, by the way. It's a very bright morning. It's obviously lots has happened since we spoke last. The one thing that I can't get over is the tone of this book. It's almost kind of like juvenile, because of like the playfulness of the animal situation that we have in this book. So obviously like each person dedicates themselves to an animal house of sorts, and it's interesting because the main animals that we follow in this book are kind of like the humorous ones, and it's just really interesting that a book so full of like court politics and power and like seriousness in trials is just so funny. Like, I have laughed out loud at this book, and you'll know what I mean, like the switch, if you read it, the switch in narration sometimes just, yeah, it really throws me. It makes it such an interesting read. At this point, I think it's fair to say that it's not a 5-star read, even though there's been some wonderful twisty parts of this book, and there was a reveal maybe at like the 2/3 point that was very twisty and completely unexpected. And I think I liked that it wasn't even on the agenda. Like, I was absolutely thrown by it, and it just brings even more questions, because since we've had that reveal, we have not revisited it. We've been focusing on other things, so it's just been wildly sat in the back of my mind waiting to be addressed. And I'm interested to now go back and see like Freya and Jamie's reviews and just sort of see why they loved it so much, because I don't know, it's so enjoyable, and like the tone of it makes it, even though it's like a longer book, and there was quite a lot of world building at the start. I don't know what it is. Something's missing. Not sure what it is. My skin is currently having a reaction. I have a hair mask in, so just don't mind the way I look right now. But I have some reading updates, because I have actually 2 reading updates. So we should probably talk about the fact that I did obviously finish The Raven Scholar, and I finished this maybe 2 days ago. It definitely wasn't a 5-star. It's like a solid 4, because I had fun, and I spoke a little bit about the tone and sort of like the way that the characters and the story came across to me as in some ways sort of like juvenile, and that was really fun and easy to read. But at the heart of the story, we literally have kind of like lots of crime and mystery, people going undercover, people trying to gain power, and I just didn't take a lot of it seriously. There's just something about it where like the tone and the seriousness of it just didn't land for me. So yeah, I did really enjoy it, and it was super interesting with the animal houses factions sort of thing. But right now I don't know if it's just the mood that I'm in, but like if you were to ask me about a fox, I never want to meet one. I never want to meet a fox, because you're annoying. Like, that's how I feel about them. And maybe that's because I am so probably Raven. Need more of the other animals. But yeah, I don't have a lot more to say about this, other than, like, who would I recommend this to? Maybe like eldest daughters. That's the vibe that this gives in terms of like the Raven and like the academic passion of our main character Nima. I would recommend it to people who like court politics mixed in with drama and mystery, but just wasn't the sort of like high epic fantasy that I was expecting. So maybe I just went in with the wrong expectations. I did still have a really good time. Like I said, this is a solid 4-star read, but just not what I was expecting, and yeah, not a 5-star. Once I'd finished that, I realised that my sister was actually reading this, and I was like, OMG, buddy read, because I was going to read Funny Story next, and then I realised that she was reading this, and I was like, okay, fine, I will pick this up too. So we've started The Night and the Moth, and I have to confess, I am already over halfway. This is so easy to read. I am really enjoying the pace, and you've heard of the gargoyle. You've heard that people love this bloody gargoyle. He is hilarious. The tone and the humour that he adds to this book is honestly unmatched. I've had such a fun time reading it so far. We have 6 diviners, and they are essentially sort of like pathways to the gods and the omens of this world. So we have 5 figures who have sort of like power, and people look to them to say that they are going to get good fortune and that they are supported by the omens. What our diviners do is they dream through this sort of like spring of water. They dream for people, and they sort of like pass the message of whether these people are blessed by the omens. The main diviner that we are following is called Six, and she in this book is considered kind of like the best in the eyes of the leader of this I wanted to say monastery. I don't know, maybe monastery is actually quite accurate. Anyway, the leader of these girls, she favours Six, and the other diviners start going missing. And it's a little bit like, why they're going missing, where have they gone, why is this happening, where are my sisters? You also have the knight in this story. He is with the king and he visits, and Six and the knight kind of, they have something very interesting going on. Literally straight off the bat, they don't like each other, and I am obsessed with the banter and like sort of how they're flirting is so up my alley. I'm really enjoying it, and we're essentially just trying to find out what's going on with the diviners and what's going on with this world, and is everything as it seems, you know? Never is in a fantasy book, but this is just so fun. I'm really, really enjoying this. I kind of wish it was longer. You know, I've only got probably like 150 pages left, maybe 200, and yeah, I'm enjoying it so much, and I'm excited now actually that I've kind of waited to read this, knowing that there will be a sequel at some point, and that's really exciting. But yeah, I'm really, really enjoying this. In terms of 5-star potential, I could see it being a 5-star, so I'm just really excited to crack on and just keep reading. Less than 30 pages left, I think. Jump scare, sorry about this. But let's finish this lovely book together. What is happening? I finished The Night and the Moth, and I actually finished it last night, but I just wanted to sit on it for a little bit because I'm not sure what my rating is, if I'm being completely honest. I completely loved and was utterly obsessed with the vibes of this book. I think the atmosphere that was created was just stunning, and it definitely felt very gothic, and I could picture everything that was being described. Even though it wasn't overly descriptive, it just felt like it was perfect at setting up the visions, and I just loved it. I really enjoyed that particular aspect of the book. I also really loved the characters. Six was great. She was everything that I needed her to be in this story. Her naivety, but also her strength, was just stunning. I was obsessed with her. And then our MMC, he was stunning. I liked his attitude, but just this kind of felt like he falls first. Like, I felt like he was giving everything I needed him to give, because to be absolutely not awful, but just indifferent to everybody else, but love the FMC. Yeah, I love that. And then we have the gargoyle. Oh my god, get me a gargoyle like right this second. Actually, I don't want any. I want this one. People are not lying when they say that he is literally one of the best characters ever. So funny. I truly, truly loved him. And it's interesting how in this story we have the gargoyle for like comedic relief and humour, and the Raven Scholar does a similar thing, but they landed completely differently. And I also got to thinking about like the size of this book and the story that it told in less than 400 pages, whereas the Raven Scholar is 600 pages, and I felt this made a bigger impact on me. I loved it. And it's just interesting, isn't it, that a book doesn't need to be super, 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 super long to touch you, whereas you have books like Alchemized that's 1,000 pages and I love every single word written. I really, really enjoyed this. I'm still not sure if it's a 5-star. It feels more like a 4.5. However, I have started a different book, and you're thinking, yeah, Hannah, update us on funny story. I have not started reading that book. I'm in such a fantasy mood, and as said by my wonderful sister, you have to take advantage of it when it happens. So I've picked up another fantasy book. I have picked up The Second Death of Locke. Now, I've heard people speak about this book and say that it's a really fun time and they really enjoyed it, but I haven't seen many people give it 5 stars. Like, I don't think it made its way onto people's like favourite books of the year or anything. But it's so easy to read right now. At like the 10-15% mark, we had a reveal that was super fun, and I think it's nice to get something so early on as well, like knowing something different. And I don't even know if it's in the blurb, but I did not know that from, you know, reading the first like 80 pages. Anyway, in this book, if you don't know, we follow 2 main characters. The MMC is a knight. He's a captain. I've got the knight in the bottom of my head. He's a captain, and he siphons power from his hand, and that is our FMC, Grey. Together, they create this, like, deadly duo and can do magical things. And they're fighting this war from the loss of the Isle of Locke. All of the areas around this continent have been at war ever since, because Locke kind of not kept the peace, but they were in control of, harnessed most of the power, and then when that disappeared, they were like, oh my god, they're just fighting since that happened, basically. And we are at war, and in this book you're like straight into it. There is no messing about. You are straight into the action and straight into sort of like building relationships, and it kind of feels like you just get this like real like instant snippet of some really old and sort of like well-developed friendships and relationships, and I just think that it was so easy to pick up and just like keep the pages turning. So I'm drop my Kindle. I'm having a really good time with it, and I plan to just add this into the vlog. I still want to read Funny Story and will not be uploading this video until I have done that. But we're adding in The Second Death of Locke because I'm in my fantasy kick. Hi, I have just finished work and I feel like this is a little bit dark. Sorry about that. But I have a parcel and I'm really excited to open it. So I thought we could open it together because I've been anticipating this. This has come all the way from Australia and I've opened it, but it's covered at the minute. And I've ordered well, it's just a journal, but it is going to be my reading journal. I've also ordered a pop socket and that is just here, so I'll show you this first because it is beautiful. Oh, you can't really see it, but it's kind of like celestial and it's purple and gold and it's just stunning. And oh my god, I've just realised that the sort of like base that it comes on is lilac, which matches my Kindle perfectly, so I'm so happy with this. And then we have the journal, and the box was actually a tiny bit damaged, so I'm hoping that the journal is okay. But this is she. Oh, can you tell? Can you see how stunning she is? So it's a dot journal, like with grids. Let me see if I can get into it. I think they came up on my Instagram and I saw them and I was like, oh, they are beautiful. I really want to start my journal. Like, I'm really, like, itching to just get going. I've been watching so many journaling videos and this is going to be my book journal, obviously. And this, let me get it out. Oh, she's so cute. Ooh. I don't know if you can tell. Honestly, it is stunning. And there we go! I know this is probably boring, sorry if it is, but loving this, obsessed with this, also obsessed with this. I've just realised on the back it says, life is so wonderfully ordinary. That's cute. In terms of a reading update, obviously we are reading The Second Death of Locke, and I'm still enjoying it. Like, it's so super easy to read, but we're on a journey. It's one of those like on a quest from A to B books, and sometimes those are really good. I remember with Metal Slinger I really enjoyed the journey. I don't know if that was because it was like across the sea and it was interesting. Empire of Storms was very similar in a sense that it was across the sea, and I really liked that, and they were travelling different places. But this is not really giving much. In terms of the relationship between who I'm assuming is like the love interest and our FMC, it's kind of like friends to lovers, I'm assuming. Unless we've just not met the love interest, I don't know. I'm assuming that it is him. And I don't think I've read... Oh, sorry, I'm literally obsessed with this pop socket. I don't think I've read of like romanticy friends to lovers before, so it's definitely different, and yeah, it's okay. I'm just not used to these specific tropes, I don't think, that we're getting in here. But I'll update when I have something interesting to say, I guess. So, I have maybe about 60 pages left of Funny Story, and I don't think I've spoken to you guys about it, and I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I have just been... Honestly, I've been doing some bits. So, like, I spent my 2 days off that I've just had journaling and reading and looking after the dogs, and just honestly just kind of switching off. So didn't want to like get ready and sort myself out and get my shit together. Honestly, I was just doing cozy things and rotting, to be honest, so didn't really feel like chatting. But I obviously finished the second death of Locke, and I'm now 300 pages into Funny Story, so we definitely have some things to talk about. I can't remember how much I said about the second death of Locke. For me, was a 3-star. I personally was not attached to the story whatsoever. I felt like in the middle, whilst we were on this journey sort of situation, you know, it was very much a travelling book for like a good chunk of it. Whilst that was happening, it did get a little bit boring, and I wasn't losing interest, but I was just getting a little bit bored. And then things started coming out, and we met some more people, and it was all about what are we going to do next and how are we going to deal with this. But I just didn't feel very attached. And I think I saw someone say in a review that the MMC just kind of fell flat, and I completely agree with that. I think the book could have probably lent itself well to a dual POV, because I don't feel like I knew too much of the MMC personally. He just sort of fell a little bit flat for me, and I don't know. I know we're talking about fantasy books here, but like, it just didn't seem realistic, which is probably a really silly thing to say, but I just kind of felt that the FMC's position and sort of like everything that you learn about her, it's just sort of like, surely not. Like, surely not. I just find it really hard to believe that she... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's on the blurb, and I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, it didn't live up to the hype for me. And don't get me wrong, it was easy to read, and I like court politics and things like that, and power, and, you know, the loss of power and regaining it. Like, I did enjoy bits of it, but it was just nothing special for me. So yeah, solid 3-star for that one. We then started Funny Story, because I felt like if I didn't just crack on and open it and, you know, just start reading, then I wasn't going to do it, because I am an expert at putting off reading this book. So I did, and can't believe now we're 300 pages in. So I have been mostly reading this, but I did pick up the audiobook yesterday evening while I was doing a few bits, and I like it. I do, but I'm not loving it. Like, I'm actually really scared to give my opinion on this book, because I'm not seeing the hype. And I messaged one of my friends and I was like, have you read Funny Story? And she was like, yeah, but if you held a gun to my head, I could not tell you what it was about, and I kind of get that. Like, I don't know if this story is going to stick with me. Do you know how, like, with some romance books, it feels like there's so much, like, weaved and written in between the lines that makes you love it? Like, that's how I feel about Cara Bastone with Ready or Not and Promise Me Sunshine. Like, those romance books, for me, just had something really special about them that got me connected to the characters and loved the story. Whereas, like, I don't really get that when I read Emily Henry, and out of all the books that we've read in this video, this is book number 4, this was the one that I really had like 5-star expectations for. So it's not feeling that way right now. It's feeling like a solid 4-star, and obviously I have like only 60 pages left, so I'm just not confident that that's going to change very much. But I do like the story, and I can definitely see why some people would connect to it, because our main character's issues and like her view of her own self-worth is definitely something that I feel like a lot of people will be able to relate to. And I'm not saying that I don't relate to that, but I just don't feel connected to her. I also feel like we're only getting like surface level from Miles, and like what we do get from him I'm really enjoying. Like, I really like him as an MMC, and definitely like I'm intrigued by him. He feels very mysterious, but I don't know, I just don't feel like the depth that's there. And like, obviously we're in Daphne's perspective, so we're getting a lot of her thoughts and feelings, but I don't feel like we get a lot from Miles. And I think if we got that in equal measure, I might like this book more. But yeah, I don't know, just not connecting like I thought I was gonna. But it is really fun. And if you don't know what the premise of this story is, we have Daphne and Miles, who essentially, Daphne was engaged to be married to this guy called Peter, and he had a best friend called Petra, who's female, and Petra and Miles were together. Before the wedding, at the bachelor party, Peter breaks up with Daphne because he says that he's in love. Oh, just dropped the book. He says that he's in love with Petra. So that leaves Miles and Daphne like the fallout situation of their new relationship, and Daphne moves in with Miles because she needs somewhere to live, and they just sort of like mope together, and whilst they're kind of getting through this breakup, they kind of coexist, and then that coexistence leads into a friendship, and then obviously that leads to something more. Obviously this is a romance book, so that's the way it goes. But yeah, I don't know, it's just not 5-star. I'm not connecting to it like I thought I would, but I am still really enjoying it. Like, it's super quick and easy to read, but I don't know what it is. Emily Henry is like, she is that girl for some people, but I just don't think that she is a 5-star author for me. So yeah, that's where we're at with this. I'm gonna finish it like right now, so can't imagine I'll have much else to say, but we'll update you when I'm finished and we'll recap what we've read in this video. I'm so aware that I have filmed 90% of the clips in this video in this exact spot, but what can I say? I live at home with my dad. So we need to sort of recap, I guess, on everything that I've read. And I finished these books over a week ago. So I've had a really good amount of time to reflect and sort of get some final thoughts on them. So let's start with The Raven Scholar. I was immersed in this book while I was reading it, and I think the premise of all of like the different animal houses, factions that lend to your personality and sort of like are intrinsic to who you are, I thought that was really interesting, and I enjoyed the plot with like uncovering the mysteries with the murder. But in all honesty, this book for me, in its tone and just its general content, it just didn't hit for me. I did not love this book. I would say it's like a 3.75 star read for me, and that's kind of upsetting because obviously I went into this book thinking it was going to be 5 stars. But yeah, I just didn't love it like I thought I was going to, but I can understand why people do really enjoy it. It's just not my sort of story. So disappointingly not a 5 star, but I would still recommend this book. It's just not for me. And then we have The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, and I absolutely loved this book. Honestly, after reading it, I was looking for something that hit like this, and you might be thinking, well, was it 5 stars then? You know, on reflection, am I feeling like this is exactly what I look for in my best books. But I don't know if my reflection on it, and like in my heart I'm like, I had such a good time and like it gives a 5-star feeling, but when I was actually reading it I didn't get 5-star feelings. So it's literally probably like a 4.75, which is upsetting but also not, because I definitely found like one of my favourite books probably in the fantasy genre ever, because I find it really hard to find a 5-star romantasy, and I absolutely loved the vibes of this book. Gargoyle, I'm looking at you, you have my heart. I really loved this, but it wasn't a 5-star. We did also read The Second Death of Locke in this video, and I'm not sure how much I spoke about it, but that was the most average book for me ever. Didn't love that book. I didn't feel connected to the MMC. I really enjoyed like the magic system in that, and I thought it was really interesting, and I think there's gonna be a second book that's kind of interconnected because the story in that book sort of wrapped up, and I would be interested to read the second book. But The Second Death of Locke for me was like I was going to say a solid 3-star, but it was kind of a little bit better than that, maybe like a 3.25. I've seen people really enjoy that book, maybe like solidly in the 4-star range. Just didn't hit that for me, and there's a bit of theme with that as we talk about the last book that I read for this video, which is A Funny Story by Emily Henry. I messaged my sister after reading this and I was like, what am I missing? Like, even she gave it like a high 4-star, and I just was not connected to this story. I loved the MMC. Miles, I am actually obsessed with you. I loved Miles' character, and watching him unfold was stunning. Loved him. But Daphne kind of felt not necessarily like pick me, but like she did get on my nerves sometimes. I really enjoyed the sort of like friendship representation and adventure that we had in this book, but it has not stuck with me whatsoever. I would say this is also probably a 3.75 star, which makes it not my best, not my favourite Emily Henry book, but I'm really disappointed in this one the most, to be honest, because I solidly thought, like, surely if any of them are going to be a 5-star, it's going to be this one. But it wasn't. And I'm upset. But look, we're still trying to find that 5-star read. I have been reading since finishing this video and still not quite there. So please give me some recommendations for 5-star reads this year, because I feel like that's what I need. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you like the vibe, and let me know your recommendations. Please let me know if you have any 5-star recommendations, because evidently I need them, because we're lacking right now. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.